Good morning. Uh, today we are um, today's topic is major trauma. I am Dr. Dayaram Lamsal, head of department emergency medicine. Major trauma is one of the very important uh, situation or condition where a person comes to emergency department almost every day in a major hospital. So this is a serious major trauma is serious and often multiple injuries where there is a strong possibility of death or disability. The major principle of major trauma is how we approach and how should we approach to major trauma is very essential, and this management of major trauma focuses on early assessment and management of patient. Often it is called that to treat, to assess such patient, we should recognize the value of time. So we should utilize every minute for the systematic assessment and rapid treatment of patient. So it is also known as a golden hour where we can save a salvageable patient who is coming to emergency department with a major injury or multiple trauma. For this, there are many protocols, guidelines, and algorithm you should follow. One of them is Advanced Trauma Life Support ATLS protocol or ATLS guideline. So it helps you to follow the principles of treatment, assessment, and treatment. What we have should follow when the patient comes to emergency department with a multiple major trauma. For this one, we have to do first thing first. That means the first situation or first condition which is killing the patient, we have to identify the major life-threatening condition or killing condition to treat first. That sometimes is called as treat the greatest threat first. So which is the greatest threat of life, we have to treat that condition first. For example, if the patient is in respiratory distress or unconscious after sustaining injury on head, like for example in motorcycle accident, which we often see in our region. So life-threatening condition should be dealt first. Then we have to go to the limb, because sometimes there is multiple injury, head, chest, abdomen, and limb. If the limb is injured, then after securing the life, we have to assess and treat the limb. And sometimes then we should follow the order like other organs. The another approach of major trauma is we should know how to minimize a missing of injuries. So minor injury may be missed in initial assessment. So if you follow a systematic approach or guideline or protocol, there is very less chance of minimizing of very less chance of missing injuries of different other parts apart from the major injury. The learning objectives is a teamwork actually. So if you are in emergency department, it is a teamwork. But before coming to patient may go through the triage area. So in triage area, the triage nurse or paramedic, sometimes doctor, who are in the emergency department, the triage area staff receive the patient first, and they set whether the patient is, and they know how to prioritize the patient, and they label the patient according to the injury or illness in different zones like red area, yellow area or green area. The red area patients are the most critical, and they will get the top priority for assessment, prompt assessment, and rapid treatment. The principle are set, which we call the systematic rapid assessment, rapid initial assessment and treatment is known as primary survey, and which follows after a second assessment is called a secondary survey. And in between, we will start resuscitation along with the primary survey. And after resuscitation, most of the patient, if it is salvageable, we can stabilize or we can restore the physiological derangement like decreased blood pressure or hypoxia. We call it stabilization of patient. And after stabilization of patient, we move on definitive care. So these are the few objectives where you learn in today's class. Why trauma management is important? We know trauma is one of the leading cause of death in a modern society. Whether it is a developing country or developed country, the mode of injuries are different, but trauma is killing many patients in everyday life. So around 10% of people die from trauma in the globe. So to save this salvageable part of trauma resulting in severe injury, the advanced trauma life support is one of the protocol or guideline developed in 1970, and it has revolutionized the trauma management. So after introduction of this protocol, many patients could have been saved in emergency department or in trauma center. So this trauma resuscitation and definitive care can save life and prevent disability. That is the aim. Actually, it is the aim of a doctor. You know, the aim of our life or aim of our profession is to save life of a patient who is in need. So developing skills or acquiring knowledge how to save a life of a trauma victim or severely injured patient is one of the aim of a medical doctor. So it is very, very important to have such knowledge and skills because it is a gradual process. So you will learn the principles, some of the principles today. The common types of injuries we see everyday practice that may result in major trauma are blunt injuries like fall from height, or penetrating injury like gunshot injury, or penetrating injury by a knife or the pointed weapons. Blast injury is explosion. Crossed is a motor vehicle accident or a road traffic accident, or machine injury in workplace. A thermal is a burn at home, domestic, or in the industrial setup. So these blunt injuries, penetrating injury, blast injury, crush injury, thermal injury may threaten life, or many patients may die on the spot. But few of them are rescued by the rescuer or police or volunteers or friends or office staffs, and they brought such patients into the treatment areas or in the hospital and in the emergency department. So the most important death, if we see in such condition, if the main injury is very much severe, those patients who die in the spot are sometimes we cannot save life, and many patients may die on the spot, like in our highway, like we listen, sometimes we see, we listen, we watch in the television that the passenger may die on the spot, in road traffic accident or even plane crash. Sometimes many patients can survive or from even in a major accident, and these patients who are having major injury, these type of patient, around 30% of patients who come to emergency department may come with hypoxia or hypovolemia. These type of patients should get top priority, and this hypovolemia patient or those who have hypoxia due to airway obstruction or injury to the oral cavity or in the chest, who have difficulty in breathing due to poor ventilation, we should be able to manage such patients in emergency department. The late complications usually after surgery or admission in the ward, in this respective ward, actually in emergency, we have nothing to do. In trauma team, usually it's a teamwork, to receive such patients or to treat such patients, a team should be active, and the role and responsibility should be defined, because everybody has no equal skills and knowledge to deal with such patients. Usually in emergency situation, there is a team leader and members. So the leaders are usually skillful and experienced, and the members are usually juniors, and they can support when the leader is dividing the specific task. Generally, if we have some information or communication from the accident side, that the normal systemic, normal in advanced trauma life support, there a message or a telephone call can be received in the emergency department from the police rescue person, like policeman or the rescuer, to the respective hospital, receiving hospital, and that is a good this is a good practice, because before, if we receive some of the messages or information that such and such patients are coming to emergency department after sustaining a major injury, the trauma team is active and they assemble to receive the patient in the lobby, and they will assign a specific role. This is usually this is a formation of team, and allocating the team members to the specific job is helpful in a disaster situation where many victims or many persons are injured in a same accident or in an event. The primary survey, you must remember what is primary survey. Survey means is assessment. Initial assessment. Primary survey is initial assessment and treatment. So in primary survey, we evaluate patient quickly and we start treatment side by side. There is acronyms called ABCDE. It is very essential to remember what is ABCDE. Most of them you may have already heard that acronyms. A is airway and cervical spine protection. It's not protection, it is a protection. Sorry, protection. Cervical spine protection or cervical spine immobilization. Usually it is done by application of collar in pre-hospital setup. But if the hospital is the health system is very much developed or coordinated, the basic airway and cervical spine protection is being done before coming to hospital by paramedics. This is This is this is possible if the ambulance has provision of providing service by the paramedics. Now Nepal government is also adopting a policy that every ambulance should have a paramedics. Now new policy is at least a paramedics where a basic health facility can be provided from the accident side and during transfer from the accident to the hospital in the ambulance. So in airway, we quickly assess whether the airway is patent or not. Airway means most of the time it is the upper airway. Upper airway means airway above the vocal cord. So lower airway means airway below the vocal cord. So airway means if the patient is able to speak when you call the patient in the emergency department, if the patient is able to speak, so his airway is usually patent. But sometimes the patient may have artificial tongue, denture or clot or foreign body in the mouth. Even the vocal cord is intact, but the patient may have difficulty because the patient may have denture or mud or it's a soil or some debris in the oral cavity. So in that condition, patient may not able to speak. And if the patient is not having is conscious or there is no injury above the cervical spine, is in the neck, or patient is conscious and the patient is able to move the neck freely, and this is bending forward, side or back, we do not suspect a cervical spine injury. In breathing, B means breathing. Breathing and ventilation means is is the patient able to oxygenate the required amount of oxygen by himself. Yeah? If the lungs or pleural cavity is injured or lungs is injured or even the pericardium or thoracic uh, thoracic cavity structures like basically the lungs or there is a collection in the pericardium. See, sometimes there is a blood collection in the pericardium called um, pericardial effusion, or that may lead to pericardial tamponade. That situation also creates a breathing problem. So, tension pneumothorax, hemothorax, or pericardial tamponade may lead to breathing difficulties. So, the breathing means we have to focus on this area. C means circulation. Circulation means is the patient able to provide adequate blood flow to the vital organs, or if the patient is being able to maintain perfusion by restoring adequate circulation or not. If there is ongoing loss by bleeding, or bleeding may be internal or external, sometimes internal hemorrhage may be missed or difficult to treat by the lay person, and external hemorrhage is easily recognizable and can treat by a person who have minimal knowledge and uh, skill of providing healthcare service. So D means disability. In disability, we assess a neurological status, whether the patient is able to respond or not, able to speak or not, able to move limbs or not, or the pupillary reflex is pupil is equal or is reacting to light or not. So in D we assess the disability or neurological assessment. E means exposure. Exposure means we have to assess a complete uh, we have to assess the body part because we are talking about the major trauma. in major trauma, there may be multiple injury and multiple parts from head to toe. So if we do not expose the patient, we may miss the injury in the chest, axilla, or in the pelvis. So we have to expose the patient and to identify the complete number of injuries. In disability, so I have already told you, in airway assessment, I'm just going in little bit detail. In airway assessment, you have to clear the mouth and clean the foreign bodies if you suspect, And if the patient is in shock from the accident site or unable to speak, the most common cause of airway obstruction is by the patient's own tongue. The tongue may fall down. So if we make our neck little bit straight and if we apply a jaw thrust and chin lift, the tongue will be stretched and come forward, and that will help to relieve the obstruction by tongue. So this is one of the simple maneuver we can apply even in the accident site with the minimal training. Airway adjunct means if the patient is assessed in the emergency department and if you feel that the patient has compromised airway, the patient is compromised with the oxygenation, you can start oxygen therapy by suctioning and removing, after suctioning and removing the airway. So you have to apply oxygen side by side, you have to clear the airway and maintain the C spine. If the GCS score is less than 8, or if the patient is unconscious with trauma, so airway protection is the paramount important, is the number one step. You have to secure by endotracheal intubation or meningotracheal intubation. It helps, or if it is very difficult, or sometimes we have to maintain airway by a surgical procedure in what we call a surgical airway, like Cricoid hybridotomy. So it is a difficult procedure for you, but you have to know the principle. Exposure, I have already told you that the meaning of exposure is not to miss any injury from in the front or back, and for that we apply our log roll, because if you move the patient without any systematic approach, patient may exacerbate the injuries, especially the C spine and lumbar spine. If there is injury in the lumbar spine and you want to check the patient's back, we have to apply a procedure called a log roll. In log roll, the precaution is being maintained not to harm the cervical injury further. Privacy is maintained, and if it is very cold in the winter or the patient is already exposing to the extreme cold, so we have to maintain the hypothermia during exposure and examination, particularly to the children and elderly. Adjunct to primary survey, after finishing the primary survey or after restoring the physiological derangement, so we will start testing a laboratory test. Like the most important thing is if there is ongoing blood loss, we have to replace the blood. So after having a primary survey, so you have to in the course of primary survey, you will obtain blood sample for blood grouping and cross match. Sometimes it takes time to arrange blood. So during IV cannulation. You have to obtain blood for grouping and cross match and make sure that the patients understand, the staff understand, and the laboratory person understand how important it is to arrange blood within a few minutes. So you have to save time in order and in the proper requisition and ordering, blood grouping and cross matching. By that, in the same time, we have to rule out certain condition, like if a patient may be diabetic or in the injury. So we have to rule out certain other condition, like hypoglycemia of the patient may have alcohol influence, patient may be under alcohol influence, or may have consumed some toxin. If the patient is having such clues, so you have to think of testing other investigation at the same time. After having the blood test, we should order appropriate test uh, like radiological and imaging test. In the trauma, we call it fast scan, focused abdominal assessment in trauma to see abdominal collection of blood or pericardial collection of blood. So, in that situation, if the patient is already having a profound amount of blood loss, so we should not, we should fix the cannula in two hands, not in only one hand, two hands. In shock, we have to infuse isotonic saline or normal saline from the both cannula, both hand, to restore blood, to restore fluid loss within a few minutes. So we should open the peripheral cannula with wide bore cannula, preferably 16 gauge cannula, and both hand. If there is a peripheral access difficulty, we have to assess a central line or sometimes even a intraosseous cannulation. And after this one, for monitoring of restoration of proper fluid or blood transfusion, a urinary catheterization is done to measure urine output. The secondary survey does not begin until primary survey has been completed and potentially life-threatening condition is dealt with. So secondary survey, if we have time, if the patient is stable, if the primary survey has been completed, then only we go for secondary survey. In secondary survey, we take a quick history, like we call ample history. A means allergy, M means medication, including immunization, like tetanus. P means past medical history. L means last meal. E means events of accident. So in secondary survey, we identify all other injuries and perform exam from head to toe. So, and definitive care is planned after resuscitation and stabilization. Patient may need to be transferred to appropriate hospital. If it is a district level or in a PSC level, patient should be transferred after resuscitation to the major hospital where there is a facility of definitive surgery like neurosurgery, cardiothoracic, cardiovascular surgery, or a definitive surgery for further treatment. So if you have any queries, please you can ask and share with me.